never comes when we're relaxed. You know that?
No, we're relaxed.
No Jew ever said in the history of the world, I'm ready for Pesach. Now I'm ready.
Oh, how was yesterday? The Publix?
It's amazing.
It was great.
You get the pics.
I did, thank you.
So what was the story with my friend there?
That's exactly what I told you.
So you didn't want
Well, I told you after we're on camera. We're on camera. So what happened is that, I was thinking about it. Today's the Rebbe's birthday. Rebbe's 120th birthday. It's a big deal. 120th birthday. We should have a l'chaim right after, actually. It's a good idea, Dan. So now I was thinking about it, that isn't it a bit of an unusual time to be born, like Erev Pesach, seriously? Like you have to be born Erev Pesach? But I think that the time of your birth is a big indication of your mazel, your whatever, your whole destiny. And I think that the days before Pesach are the most rushed days of the year. No Jew ever said, I'm so excited to kosher, to blowtorch my kitchen. I'm so excited to cover it up with tin foil and to change out all my dishes. I can't wait to change out all my dishes. Yeah. So my point is that it's about just doing what you got to do. Erev Pesach, just like the Jews came out of Egypt 3,000 years ago, they did so in haste. It was just something, just do what you got to do and get the show. Just move on. Just keep moving, man. Keep moving. Right? And I think that is almost the approach of our generation, that I've been inspired and nurtured a generation where it's not about being perfect. It's about getting the job done. It's like I wrote in the email on Friday, the stealing of the Afikomen. You want to get out of Egypt? You're going to have to deceive your way out of slavery. Right? You're going to have to tiptoe your way out of slavery. Nobody walks out of slavery, just relaxed. You run out of slavery. Because if you don't run, that's what Tanya tells us, chapter 31. If you don't run, no, is it 31 or? No. Shush. Maybe it's 31. If you don't run out of inner slavery, you're going to be vacuumed straight back in. So the way out of inner exile is by sneaking your way out. And the same thing right now, we're not perfect. We're coming to shul, right? And are you meditating about everything you should be meditating on? Have you prepared all the preparation that you should have prepared? No, you do what you got to do. I'm here now, and now I'm going to make it work as much as I can. Like the story I mentioned in Shabbos, if you're here on the Shabbos, about the two rabbis, Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, who witnessed the death of a starving poor man. And instead of feeling sorry for themselves and getting stuck in the past, they were like, look, what do we have to do now? Now we have to bury him. Now we have to figure him out. And that's when they figured out that he was actually responsible for his own death. But I think that very much embodies the Rebbe's attitude to life in general. Don't get stuck in the Hebrew school that you missed. Don't get stuck in the imperfect parents that you had. Talk about now. Now you here? Okay, let's dive in. Now you here? Let's learn. It's about divesting of the past and being present only in this moment. That's the power of now. It's about being present right here, right now. Now I'm healthy. Good, I'm healthy. So even though I wasn't healthy 50 years ago because somebody was nasty in my early upbringing, and that's got a tremendous impact upon us. It does. It has a tremendous impact upon us. Huge. And even though I get stuck in the Holocaust, I can't get over it. Right? No pointing fingers. Just looks. Even though we get stuck in the Holocaust, nevertheless, you know what? What happened happened. We're in the present moment. This is here. This is now. This is what we're doing. We're here. And that, I think, is the manifestation of the Rebbe's birthday being 4 days before Pesach. It's not like we have time to make birthday party celebrations. We're making a farbrengen now. No, we have no time. We're getting ready. Any free moment I have right now, I'm scrubbing, scraping, cleaning, scratching, whatever, right? Doing whatever you have to do to go to Pesach. That's my little introduction here to today's Torah study. But Rob is anxious to get to the third cup of wine. So here we go. Ready, Rob? Okay. So we are up to here. We did now. The way we do it in my house is that we actually sing the various names of the sections of the Seder. So we'll start before the Seder. Dei shurchat, karpas yachat, magid rachza, maitzi matzah, marar kerech, shulchan erech, Tzafun beirach halel nirtza. We'll sing, and then and we'll sing in the beginning, and then we start the Seder. We go Kadesh. It's like a game with the kids. Kadesh Orchatz. Then we go. So now we up to where we up to? Shulchan Aruch. We go Kadesh Orchatz, Karpas Yachatz, Magid Rachza, Moitzi Matzah, Maror Karech, Shulchan Aruch. That's what we have
You
to.
can record yourself and send that on the Friday. With this one.
Interesting idea there.
And if your production team can put the words below, that would be great.
I might have an even better idea for you. I might have a music video for you. All right, let's see.
For your Hasid.
My voice, let me tell you, is priceless. I don't think you can afford my voice.
Maybe have your brother-in-law.
I'm gonna have to do a deputy for this.
Have your brother-in-law.
All right, let's see what happens.
Don't deputize. We don't connect with the other guy.
All right, let's see what it is. So anyway, so here we are. We're up to Shulchan Aruch. We're up to finally eating the meal. You know, it's 11:45 p.m. and now we're ready to eat. I mean, who came up with this menu here? You know. So we eat the meal, and what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to eat the whole meal, leaning to your left, like kings. Can't wait to get to the White House one day and find everybody leaning to the left.
They lean to the left already.
Good one, Marty. That's pretty sharp, actually.
So always sharp.
Leaning to the left only pertains to the men.
Yes, only the men pretend. The woman can lean to the right. No, I'm joking.
She should be a queen.
Yeah, apparently, I'm not sure if it has to do with female anatomy. I don't know what the story is, but there must be a deeper explanation, Warren, which I'm not aware of yet. But when the Code of Jewish Law tells us that the women don't, then there's got to be a Kabbalistic reason as to why that is. Now, the shallow amongst us will say, you see, it's chauvinism, right? We have to put an orange in the Seder plate. But there's a Kabbalistic reason here, which is about digging, just about digging, right? What were you saying, Andy? You just said something?
Women have to get up and serve. It's being worse than chauvinistic.
Yeah, worse than chauvinistic. Yeah.
Are there any requirements for the Pesach meal?
Are there food requirements? Yes, we're going to get there right now.
Okay.
So the first thing you're supposed to eat in the meal is you're supposed to eat the egg. Does anybody here eat the egg on the Seder plate? When do you eat the egg?
On the Seder plate?
Yeah, when do you eat the egg?
Right before we start the meal.
That's perfect. Look at you. Amazing. Corey says that 11:45 p.m. is dinner time to her. Perfect. Yeah, it's normally, midnight snack, right? So you're supposed to first eat the egg on the Seder plate. First thing.
From the Seder plate.
Yeah, you eat the egg on the Seder plate first thing in the meal. Then the wise man will make sure not to overfill in dinner time to be able to make sure that he can eat the most important part of the Seder, which is what? The afikomen, which is the last thing he's supposed to eat. Now, you can't just smell the afikomen and look at the afikomen, sit near the afikomen. You got to actually eat the afikomen. And how much you have to eat is an olive size worth of the afikomen, which means 1/3 of a shmura matzah. Now, if you got the small shmura matzahs that we're giving out, that means you have to eat the entire thing. But if you're eating a large shmura matzah, then it's you got the third class stowage. Right. Now,
Wait, how many afikomas do you?
one per person.
One per person.
yeah.
One per person.
Yeah.
So kazayas is not that much.
An olive size, yeah, but if you smush down an olive into a dough, it becomes about 1/3 of a shmura matzah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, how much you think of that? You think it's a whole matzah?
No, it's less. It's like about the size of an olive. It's like this much.
You think it's like a little penny size? Here it is.
Yeah, maybe 2 bites, 3 bites.
So an ounce, according to lakewoodmatzah.com, is on Pesach. It's necessary to know how much is needed for a kazayis, an olive size, in order to perform the mitzvah of matzah. To comply with this requirement, Hagaon Rav Moshe Feinstein, he was from the Lower East Side, the great codifier. He ruled to use an amount of matzah which will displace 1.5 fluid ounces. I mean, that doesn't make it easier for me to know what that is.
Oh, you
Right.
know what it is. 1.5 fluid ounces is
It's
the measure
45
of a
ml.
drink of bourbon. If you're gonna,
Are you drinking bourbon or you eating matzah? What are you?
That's the same size.
I mean, when you think about a drink, you're supposed to have no more than two drinks, two glasses.
How much matzah is 2/3 is 1.5 fluid ounces?
It's a shot glass. It's a shot glass.
Ounces to a solid.
Okay, guys, hang on, guys, hold your horses, Andy, hold your horses. So fine. So what is that? It's an amount equal to 2/3 of a standard machine matzah. If you're eating a machine matzah, it's 2/3, right?
So it's by weight. By weight.
Well,
You have an olive.
Handmade matzahs, guys. Let's get to the bottom line here. Now we said you're not supposed to have machine matzahs, but handmade matzahs, commonly referred to as shmura matzah, can vary significantly in weight, size, and thickness. For example, I bought for myself this year for Pesach super thin matzahs, whatever that means. I'm not sure if it's in name only super thin or if we'll find out. They can vary significantly in weight, size, and thickness from one matzah to another. For this reason, it is impossible to assign a precise shear. Impossible because it depends on the thickness. As a standard kazais for hand matzahs, one cannot ever get a close approximation of the shear needed by first seeing how many matzahs he has per pound. This is interesting. Typically, thin matzahs come 9 matzahs to a pound. Medium matzahs come 7 matzahs to a pound, and thick matzahs are 6 to a pound. Then you can use the following guidelines. If it's a thin matzah, let's figure this out, guys. If it's a thin matzah, then you're eating slightly more than half a matzah for a kazayis. By the way, this is very important. When you talk about kazayis, it's like observing the laws of Torah, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be precise. It's like you're having the seder an hour early. It's close, but no cigar. You see what I'm saying? It's close, but no cigar. So it's a really important. I know people that sit there with a food scale, at the seder, and they actually weigh the matzah, they weigh the maror, and they put the matzahs in little baggies and give everybody matzah baggies, so everybody knows exactly how much. But let's finish this. So if it's a thin matzah, then you want to eat slightly more than half a matzah. If it's a medium matzah, you will need more than a third and less than a half a matzah. That's what I've been talking about, 1/3 of the matzah. If he has a thick matzah, then you can take a little bit more than 1/3 of a matzah. Now, typically, the matzahs that we give out, the gift matzahs that we give out, are thicker. Why? Because they're made for stripping. They're made for shipping. So we deliberately don't make them thin. We deliberately get the thicker ones, right? And that's why I said that you want to eat a little bit more than 1/3 of a shmura matzah. But if you think you're having a super thin, ultra thin, what's it called? Weight Watchers matzah, right? Then you want to eat at least slightly more than half of matzah. So that's somewhere between a third, between a little bit more than a third and a little bit more than a half. Right? Okay, so that's important. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Andy, you were going to say something?
No, it's just that this is if you're talking 1.5 ounces or kazayas, it sounds like it's a volume measure, not a weight measure. So when you think in terms of when you think in terms of thin or thick, you're thinking light, if it's too light, or you're thinking that
volume.
What's that?
Volume.
Well, if it's volume, that's what ounces measure. 1.5 ounce is what's in a shot glass.
Yeah, but how are you going to figure that out in terms of matzah? How do you translate the 1.5 ounces of fluid into matzah? How do you do that?
So it's still a volume. If you crumble up the matzah and you put it in a shot glass, that would be the size.
I mean.
Okay, guys, I think on a practical level,
It could be weight or volume.
on a practical level, we know now how much a kazai says. I've been vindicated, right? Thank God. So, all right, good. By the way, it could be Kalamata olives too, by the way.
It's 30,
You know the thick olives?
it's 30 grams to the ounce, 29.
All right. We know what it is. Let's get into the food. He's still waiting for his wine over here. So you want to make sure that you have enough space for the matzah, for the afikomen, which is the last thing you're supposed to eat. You can't say, I'm too full. I'm sorry, I'm not eating the afikomen. Doesn't work, right? And therefore, you want to make sure you leave space. Now, what are you supposed to eat was the question Rob asked. Well, I'll tell you what you're not supposed to eat. You're not supposed to eat any roasted meat. Why? Because it looks like, not even roasted poultry, because it would look like it's the Paschal lamb, which we don't do today when we don't have a temple, and that would be sacrilegious. So we don't have any roasted like lamb on a spit. You don't do any roast, but this is the reason why you'll find that we have brisket. Now, brisket, I'm no culinary, but brisket is cooked in water, right? Is meat cooked in water? What does braised mean? Cooked, when you cooked in a liquid. So, no, but there's water. No, steamed is...
It's braised in liquid.
Now, even if you cooked it and thereafter you roasted it in a pot, I think it's called a pot roast, you still don't eat a pot roast.
No.
Right. But what you want to do is if you cooked it in liquid, in sauce, then it's fine. Now, there are those people that won't eat on each of the nights of the Seder anything which is anything which is like some sort of a dipping. Anything which you dip, like a hummus or something like that, which you dip, in order that it should be clear that the dipping is only for the matzah. After the meal, that's not our custom, by the way. After the meal, you want to eat afikomen, and you eat afikomen as a memory to remember the Paschal lamb that was eaten during the meal. Okay, and you want to make sure that is your dessert. That is your finishing food. Now, when it comes to afikomen, you want to eat 2 olives, 2 kazesim. That's where you have to make sure you're leaving space. You want to eat, basically, it's going to be a little bit more than a full shmura matzah, full size, right? You want to eat 2 kazesim, 1 to remember the Paschal lamb, and another one to remember the matzah, which was eaten together with the Paschal lamb. Remember, the afikomen was eaten as a sandwich.
So they say you cannot have dessert?
This is a dessert. This is rabbinical Talmudic desserts. It's matzah.
You don't have dessert. Forget dessert.
Forget
So
about
you do
dessert.
not eat dessert?
This is dessert. Afikomen actually means dessert in some language, maybe Aramaic. I think in Aramaic, afikomen means.
Then you have fruit and a piece of cake and then the afikomen?
Yeah, of course, absolutely, yes, yeah.
All right.
As long as afikomen is last, yes, yes, yes.
So there's not a bar to dessert.
No,
That's the only reason I show up,
no cake for
is
you.
the dessert.
Okay, now, at the very least, even though you're supposed to eat 2 kazesim, now how many matzahs have you eaten already so far? You've had 1 matzah. We ate 1 kazais for motzi matzah. We had another kazais for kairech, for the sandwich, and now you're having 2 more. You're having 4 kazaisim. It's 4 olive sizes worth of matzah. I mean, seriously, it's very little space for anything else. At the very least, when you eat afikomen, you want to make sure that you have at least 1 kazais of afikomen, if you can't have 2. Okay? And you want to eat the matzah leaning over. After afikomen, you're not allowed to eat anything at all. That's when you pour the 3rd cup of wine. You're allowed to drink, you're not allowed to eat.
You put something on the afikomen?
No.
So you could put a little chopped liver?
Chopped liver.
No.
That's what we need.
Chopped liver sounds good to me.
I like
No, but
it.
not in afikomen. You eat it before.
Yeah, you're stuffed already.
Okay? Afterwards, you pour the 3rd cup of wine. That's the one that we use for benching, for the grace after meals. And you got to be careful that you want to clean out the 3rd cup of wine in case you were drinking wine during the meal. So you don't want to refill the cup of wine that was drunk during the meal, because you want to start with a fresh new cup for the 3rd cup of wine for the benching.
So you dump out the last stuff.
Yes. And it's a special mitzvah to make sure that you could do a zimun, which means like a Rabbi say. You'd have 3 men to be able to do the, what's it called? I don't know how to say that in English, but the preamble to the benching. But you shouldn't move to another house in order to find other men for that, because everyone has to bench in the place that they ate. It's customary that the owner of the house is the one that leads the benching. As it says in the verse, the one who is generous will be blessed. So if you're hosting, whoever's hosting is the one that should lead the benching. Also, the one at the beginning of the Seder, you were the one that said, "Kol dichvin yesev yechol," whoever needs should come in and eat.
But also the Balabais is the one who gives it to somebody else. You could, if it's yours to
Yeah,
give it.
Yeah,
but
in
I'm
our,
saying
and
that
let me tell you, in
for
my
instance,
house, for
you could
example,
give
it's customary that on a Friday night specifically,
Uh-huh.
the owner of the house, the host, is the one that leads the benching.
And he doesn't give it.
No.
Because usually he gives it
Daytime, you
to
give it to
someone,
someone else.
you say,
I think it's a Sephardic custom or something, but in Chabad at least, I think the custom is in Chabad, at least in my house, in our houses, family, that the owner of the house does the Friday night benching.
Okay.
Okay.
So you talk about the mortgage institution.
Yes, I've heard somebody say whoever pays the mortgage. Yeah, but in
No,
the
I didn't say, I said the mortgage.
oh, you mean the bank? Yeah. So the God forbid they shouldn't be the owners of the house. But in the beginning of the Haggadah of the Seder, you said, "This is the bread of affliction. Whoever doesn't have where to go, where to eat, should come and eat." So since the owner of the household is one that said that, therefore he's the one that gets blessed, and therefore he's the one that leads the benching. After that, after the benching, you drink the third cup of wine and you drink it leading over. You're not allowed to drink anything between the third and the fourth cups of wine. After benching, we pour the fourth cup of wine. Now, this is the one where we pour the cup of Elijah to. It's customary to open the door, to open the front door, to remember that it is a night of guarding. And when we open the door, it's important not to be afraid of anything. Yeah, let me tell you, coming from South Africa, leaving the front door open, some people sleep with the front door open. Can you imagine sleeping with your front door open? Now, it's easy if you live in a gated community, but imagine if you live in crime-ridden Johannesburg, leaving the front door open. That takes faith. Okay, that takes a lot of faith. Like when I came to Palm Beach, I remember seeing people that left their garage door open all night. I was like horrified.
Have they figured out what Baruch haba means?
What?
Have they figured out in South Africa, the locals, what Baruch haba means?
Baruch haba, yeah.
Because that's what you do when you open the door.
You can't get to the front door. My parents are still marvel every time they come to Palm Beach that they see that you can walk straight up from the street to the front door. In South Africa, you can't do that. There's 6-foot fencing, electric wire fencing or glass or something. There's dogs. You don't just go to somebody's front door. That's like it's like walking into somebody's bedroom. It's like the front door is private. You don't just walk up the front door. But in Palm Beach, in Johannesburg, if you left your garage door open, let me tell you, it would be cleaned down to the 4 walls in the morning.
To the studs.
To the studs, yeah. So it takes a lot of faith.
And that's just the lions.
So, the Jews on the night of Pesach, it was the night of guarding. Hashem protected them, bringing them out of Egypt. It says in the merit of this faith, we too will be meriting the coming of Mashiach. Now, we can appreciate this statement based on the gates of trust that we've learned. We learned tracht gut wird sein gut, that when you think good, that's what causes that it will be good. So now we can understand what it means in the code of Jewish law. In the merit of this faith, we will be redeemed. It sounds like, okay, it sounds like a nice thing. So God is going to say, well, because you were nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. But when we learn a more sophisticated, you realize that it's measure for measure. When you trust blindly in God's ability to provide, then God reciprocates measure for measure by blindly granting you the salvation you seek. You don't calculate God's ability. He doesn't calculate your worthiness, right? That's how we learned it, right? So it's in the merit of this faith that Mashiach will come. Now, that's a lot. You got to figure out yourself, what kind of faith you have, what kind of bitachon, what kind of trust you have. Now, Corey says, we were looking for Eliyahu and Navi when we opened the door. We are looking for Eliyahu and Navi when we open the door. In fact, Corey, it's interesting. In the Rebbe's Agada, it says that when you open the door, the gates of heaven are open for you. When you open the door at the Seder, the doors of heaven are open. Don't be a fool, says the Rebbe's Agada. You should know what to ask for. Don't ask for silly stuff. Be prepared when you open that door. It's not just, some silly idiosyncrasy. The doors of heaven, God does whatever we do. Whatever He tells us to do, He does Himself. When He asks us to open our doors, He opens His doors as well. On the night of the Seder, on the night of Shimurim, the night of God's Himself guarding us, He opens the door. At those few moments, the doors are open. Make sure to tell your family to ask for Hashem whatever they need. Okay? So yes, Corey, it's all really connected here. And in this merit of this faith, that you keep the door open all night. I remember my father used to leave the front door. My father used to leave the front door open in Johannesburg. The security gate was locked, and the gate outside was locked. But the fact that even the front door was locked was open was like a big faith
Not
thing.
just unlocked, open.
Open. The front door was open, but there was a security gate. I mean, you could get the security gate.
Snakes and alligators.
We weren't worried about it again.
No, you-
Wait, you leave it open even after the Seder was done? I thought you only did it after the third cup of wine and before the fourth.
Moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is customary to leave it open. So,
Wow.
I can tell it's my father's custom. My father did that. Let me see what it says. Let me see the exact words here in the Code of Jewish Law. What does it say? It says you open the front door in the and remembering that it's the night of guarding, and you don't be afraid of anything. It does not say of let's see, maybe we'll go a little further. Might say a little bit more, but at this point, at least,
You say you open it at the fourth, when you're ready to drink.
this is the fourth cup. Yeah,
No, you said the fourth.
yeah. It's after benching. We're up to the fourth cup. Yeah.
It doesn't say if you should close
Look,
the
remember the whole
front
night is a night of guarding. By the way, even in the Kriya Shema, the Shema that you say before you go to sleep, normally there's a whole thing that you say over there about protection. On the night of Pesach, it's very short. You say the Shema paragraph and Hamapel. That's it. You don't ask for any special guarding because God is guarding us on the night of Pesach. What were you saying?
No, just that it doesn't say for how long, what's the minimum time you keep the door open. Usually our custom was you open it, you say Baruch Haba, and you close the door. But in what you're saying, it just says you have to open it, and it doesn't tell you what's the minimum time for keeping it open.
Yeah. Look, it's a night of guarding. It's different customs. I think it's a beautiful custom to leave the front door open. I mean, you're literally experiencing your bitachon by leaving the front door open. Again, if you live in a gated community, it's a little less, you know. But if you're living in,
Aseos, where I live, yeah.
yeah, if you live in a less, you know what Seinfeld calls the gated communities. You know what Seinfeld calls the gated communities in Florida. Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, what about
He calls them minimum security prisons. So if you don't live in a minimum security prison, right? Look, it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's not a law anywhere. The law can't tell you to keep the door open all night, because then it would defeat the purpose of your trust. Look, maybe leave it open a little bit. I don't know. I leave the front door. Look, I'm coming from South Africa. I leave the door open 15 seconds, and I'm getting nervous. You know what I mean? I mean, from South Africa, you couldn't leave a door open. It was like life-threatening to do that. Yeah.
It's more about the four-legged things, so the ones with no legs that come.
That's a
The
creature.
snakes, the frogs.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had a couple years ago during the pandemic, we were doing the Seder at home, and there was a snake that appeared right outside the door, the sliding door, like a little snake. And I said to the kids, I'm like, look, one of the plagues showed up. You know, we would figure out which plague it was. It was like right there. It's just doing a little thing, you know. We're having a show and tell. So, okay. So after that, we say the Shvei Chamascha Hashem. We actually send the kids with the candelabra. If it's not Friday night, on Shabbos, the candles are muktzah, are not allowed to be touched. But if it's a weeknight, then you are allowed to touch the candles. So this year, Friday night is the first night of the Seder, so we won't be sending candles to the door. But on the second night, we'll send kids with candles to the door to go and greet Eliyahu. And it's a known thing that if you're able to see Eliyahu and Avi, it means you're a tzaddik. And if you don't, then you're still working on it. Okay. And we say, pour your wrath upon the nations. After that, we continue with the Hallel. And we say the beautiful, beautiful verses of praise of Hallel. We go through them. We then drink the fourth cup of wine. You drink the whole cup, and afterwards you make an after blessing. After that, you finish the Seder of the Haggadah. Now, Chabad custom is not to say that the Seder is now over. We don't say those words, Chasal Sidur Pesach.
Really?
No, because the miracle of liberation of freedom continues all year long. So it's not actually our custom to say those words. Many Ashkenazi Jews do. Of course, but we don't say Chasal Sidur Pesach, the Seder is over. After the fourth cup of wine, you're not allowed to drink anything except for water. Now, if you don't fall asleep, then it's customary to read the Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs of King Solomon. It's my father's custom, and it's a beautiful custom. I started last year. I sit over there, Shir HaShirim Asher Li Shloimo. The Song of Songs. You sing it in the tune. It's beautiful. Now, it's customary, as I just mentioned, when you do the Shema before you go to sleep, to say only the Shema itself and the first paragraph of the Shema and Hamapel, which is the blessing you say before you go to sleep, to teach us that you don't need to pray for protection because it's already a night of protection. It's a night of guarding where God protects us from anyone that wants to harm us, and there is no need for added, for added requests for protection.
At that point, how many of your kids have their heads on the table and are all full?
None.
Yeah, well, we try to encourage our kids to sleep in the daytime. We try to motivate them to stay up. Listen, for some reason in my house, kids don't have a hard time staying up. I don't understand this. I need to push them 11 p.m. to go to bed. You know what I mean? For some reason, I think I'm going to have a hard time, keeping them up. Whatever. I mean, yeah, some of them will crash. What?
It's not the what time, it's the what. What are they about?
Last night, I actually asked one of my kids if bedtime tonight is going to be optional. At 10:30, I think I was like, I was going to sleep in. Like, listen.
Can I ask
What's the
about Zariah?
Yeah. So let me just say this: work is permitted only on April 18th to 21st with certain restrictions. Okay, let me do this tomorrow, Winston. I'll talk about this because I do have to go to a meeting. So I was just saying brief that the first 2 days and the last 2 days of Pesach, are full-blown Shabbos. Okay, the only thing you're allowed to do on those days is light a fire from a pre-existing flame, and you're allowed to carry. That's the only thing you're allowed to do on the first 2 days and the last 2 days of Pesach. But that's different from Shabbos. Obviously, this year it's Shabbos, so you wouldn't be able to do it on the first day or the last day. But the middle days is a semi-yontif. You're not supposed to go to work. You're allowed to drive. You're allowed to use your phone, but you're really supposed to avoid work, like work emails and work stuff. You're supposed to really take it easy. You're supposed to enjoy a festive meal every day. You're supposed to drink a cup of wine, which really learn the laws of Chol HaMoed maybe in the next few days. And that's in Chol HaMoed. We don't lay tefillin in Chol HaMoed, by the way, unless you really go to the office. If you really go to the office, then you lay tefillin, but I don't lay tefillin. About the daily nasi, we do read the daily nasi. You'll find in the back of the blue siddur. Today is the tribe of Asher. It's 11th day. It's the first 13 days of the month of Nisan is when they inaugurated the Mishkan, the tabernacle, on the days of Moses. Each tribe was one day, and that's why we read them each day. And it's highly recommended that you read the daily nasi. And in case your soul is rooted in that tribe's dedication, you are able to connect with that power of the day. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up over here. I know Andy had a question. What's the question, Andy?